Hey, this is Anthony Hannigan. Welcome back to Music Moose. We are going to talk over some things that we kind of failed to miss out on the very first few lessons. And for those that are intermediate and advanced, you can skip right over this series unless you want to just stick around and joke around about me later on. I guess that's okay too. This, everybody, and I'm gearing this towards the beginners, is called a mandolin. You probably got that information by looking at the forum list or the lessons list and saying lessons on the mandolin. It's an F-style mandolin, and it has a scroll right here. This is called a scroll. Some other mandolins do not have the scroll, which makes them the A model mandolin. And basically, we're going to touch base on some of the hardware configuration and what you need to do as far as keeping up with the general upkeep of the instrument, and talk about some of the stuff that I have, stuff that I recommend, and stuff that I don't recommend doing to your own personal instrument. We're going to talk a little bit about cleaning it, keeping it polished, and keeping it current. It's not like software, so you don't have to keep getting firmware upgrades. It's pretty much, as long as you take care of it and keep it happy, I think it'll keep you happy for many, many years. So basically, it consists of 8 strings, and we're going to talk a little bit about the strings and what I use in the string action too, but I basically want to break it down for you so you have a reference point to what I'm talking about. Here we have a bridge, which it kind of consists of 2 pieces. We have the top part where the strings kind of sit on, that's the actual bridge, and the saddle, and by these little adjusters, and the adjusters go left and right. And what you want to do, if you want to raise the action, you're going to turn them clockwise, okay? And that is going to raise it. And this is good, especially if you live in a place where the humidity levels fluctuate between dry and very moist, because you'll find out with any wood instruments, they have lots of life into them, and with the temperature changes and with humidity changes, that wood will contract and expand. This particular mandolin belonged to my father for years and years and years. It's got many great qualities. As far as mandolins, what I look for in a mandolin is tone and playability. Cosmetically, I don't really have an interest either way. Some are prettier than others. I like the dark finish. I guess I'm sort of attracted to, but you know, some of the best ones I've ever played before were super beat up and scratches and dings and everything else. So the top of the mandolin is mostly, I've rarely seen, I've only know of one person right now. His name is Chris Stanley. He builds the Stanley mandolins in Wisconsin. He's using a 1-piece top, but they're generally like violins. There's 2-piece tops, and if you can see, if we can get the camera in here, you can see the line right here that separates the top. So usually if there's any fatigue or stress or cracks, it's going to happen right along this fault line, right in here. Dead center down the middle. And we have the scroll. We have the F-holes. Rule of thumb, note number 1, is the bridge on an F-hole mandolin, a full-scale neck, is usually lined up to these corners where the F-holes come down. So if you take note, you'll look at that. Some sizes are big. You can actually put your finger inside here. Underneath the top, there's a bracing of sorts. It might be tone bars, or it could be an X bracing. And those particular kind of enforcements, or reinforcements I should say, are going to definitely gear what kind of tone and voice that your mandolin actually has. What I've seen over the years, the narrower the tone bars, the more kind of sound that you're going to get from vibration and stuff. Some of the ones of the mandolins that are made overseas, there's really thick tone bars. I've seen people take off their tops or go in through the end pin. The end pins actually is back here, and this is where your strap goes. If you take a look over on this side, this is the end pin. And this, I have mine kind of wedged in so it doesn't fall off, but it goes in and out. You can take them off, you can put them in. Some luthiers will go in that way to do work that needs to be done on a restoral, I have seen. Back here is our tailpiece. I do not have a tailpiece cover. In the event, especially playing a lot of live performances, if I were to break a string on stage, I like easy access. And some of the older mandolins, that top part of this part back here is almost impossible to get off. And you can see there's tabs here where your strings will go. I've used the ones on the side in the field when I have broken a string and I've had the tie that I haven't had a spare string with me, 4:30 in the morning, I don't want to wake up anybody else, I've actually tied them on here too. So whatever way, it's usually for an open loop end string, you can put them on there. If you have a ball string, if you need to use a banjo string or something in the meantime, as a disaster recovery, you can certainly put them on this side too and just kind of wedge them in there. I've done that before. I have a little piece of felt in here to eliminate any sort of breaking that might happen as well. So back here, the tail piece, which resides on the tail of the mandolin. We have an ornament of a point, which comes in handy with the F models because that kind of sits right here for me when I play. Followed by the neck, and this particular neck right here you can see is scooped. And a lot of people, when they develop their picking, depending on how long their wrist is, they might hit that. There might be some pick noise. I prefer the scooped out version because I play up here a lot for the tone, and I don't have to worry about my pick actually hitting the fretboard. This also has a radiused fretboard, and I don't know if we can get a close-up look, which means there's a little bit of a curve that goes to it, a lot like a violin. Okay. Up here, we have the truss rod, and we're going to get into that in the next series. Basically, the anatomy of the instrument is to be continued, and we're going to talk about all kinds of great things about this instrument right after this.